Dilaudid. It's a word in the Urban Dictionary. No matter how bad a person is in life, when he dies, people say nice things about him. They all die lauded. I mean, here's a guy, this is not what I was going to talk about, but there's a guy who was a war vet, a painter, a vegetarian, loved animals. Hitler. You can say nice things about him. Wrong way. Sorry. Now, I was born in 1949 in Philadelphia. Anybody here from there?
Woo!
You still my pipe? 1949, long time ago. Anybody know who the president was at that time?
Washington?
Who did Truman beat? Anybody know? Dewey, right. Do you know who the World Series champion was in 1949?
Not the Phillies.
Yankees. That's right. Do you know who where's Dr. Todd? Do you know who the National Football League champion was in 1949? The Eagles. That's correct.
Are there prizes?
You know, Philly's it's different from here. It's a very tough place. Their antidepressant of choice is barroom brawling. They go in looking for fights and they feel better. Now, I don't know if everybody knows about what Philly's famous for. One of them is the triple negative, okay, in Rocky Balboa. His future brother-in-law, Paulie, was giving Rocky social advice. And Rocky said the first triple negative I've ever heard, which is, "Hey, yo, Paulie, I don't see no crowd around you neither." Now that's how Philadelphians speak. They speak in triple negatives. And they, of course, they intersperse in every sentence at least twice. You know. I wanted to be a doctor all my life. My mother, most of all, wanted this for me. We'd watch Marcus Welby, Ben Casey, and she'd always point out how admired and respected these men were. When she looked at me with those big blue eyes, I couldn't help but try to do whatever she wanted me to do. My dad was a typical World War II vet, pharmacist, silent, and used his basic philosophy, especially when it came to me, which was, quote, "If you answer an idiot, you're an idiot." I was a decent student, not like these guys sitting around the tables, you know. I was a sports guy, a lover boy, a prankster, but somehow the idea of being a doctor outweighed the idea of me being a soldier in Vietnam. So I studied, and somehow made it through college and school, studied residency at Temple in Philadelphia. Now, I don't know how many of you remember the show Roots in '77. Dr. Nash, okay. I didn't say nothing. Now that show was a watershed for me, not for its teachings, morals, or inspiration. But during the first night of the show, Philly had the most massive snowstorm, and I spent the next day digging out my car from a snowdrift. The second night of the show was equally great, but when I awakened, there was an even bigger snowing that had completely engulfed my little Fiat convertible. And that's the moment I looked at the car and uttered these immortal words: "I gotta move out of this storm." So, moving to LA, married, and having 2 wonderful children. Being so far from Philly, my parents didn't see us much, and both of them died relatively young when the children were small. The last time I saw my mom, she drove away in the car, looking at me with those big blue. I want to share with you tonight, if she had survived, what those eyes would have said. My son Justin, graduating from Santa Barbara, getting advanced degrees, moving to Moscow, becoming fluent in Russian, and now working in international banking, married to Maria Kuzmina, who carries a master's degree in business from Moscow State University, and they live in New York. For the first time in America, I would like us to stand and acknowledge, for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Justin Landau. Now, Blake, my daughter, is also a UC graduate at Santa Cruz and is now living in the Bay Area with her long-term partner, Jacob Morgan, who's in Australia right now, as his mom said. Jacob has published books in the World Hill, is an international speaker and entrepreneur, and we love him very much. Blake has her own marketing and PR agency involving social media. And even though Jacob couldn't be here tonight, his parents, David and Ella, are. If my mother had remained alive, she would have watched the accumulation of wonderful friends, colleagues, who she would have loved to meet. People from every continent in the world, and actually all 5 Olympic rings, if we had brought in a flag here tonight, would be on display, since there was a representative here of all 5 Olympic continents here with us tonight. What I'm most proud of in my career is not a ridiculous radio show where no one called in. And I did act in a TV show, which was a comedic disaster about my radio show. And my children forced me to born it. I was horrible. No, I'm not proud of those things, but I am proud of the fact that we were at the cutting edge of beginning what is now called consultation liaison psychiatry. It's a bridge between all the medical disciplines and psychiatry. By doing this, we improve the quality of patients' lives, minimize many needless tests, and help to find illness and diagnoses that without our interaction, our teams might have missed. Right? Now, at every Kaiser in Southern California, and in most university hospitals all over, there's a consultation liaison service. It's now considered a very important medical specialty, and in the new medical lingo, it's called a value adder. It really adds a lot to the hospital and to the patients. Unfortunately, as you kind of heard from Dr. Taub, from my colleagues here, they will attest to the fact that I think I'm now a gynecologist, emergentologist, internist, dermatologist, and generally these doctors are polite when I overstep my knowledge base. Sometimes they just smile and roll their eyes. I think I've also come up with this certain presentation where I help patients to see that depression and other psychiatric issues are no different than any other problem from any other medical organ. I tell them if your pancreas didn't make enough insulin, we give you replacement insulin. If your eyes needed correction, we give you glasses. The brain is no different. Words, thoughts, music, exercise, and sometimes medicines are just what we call glasses for the brain. But then finally, I want to thank my family, Justin, Blake, and Masha, my best friends, and the people again who came originally from all over the world to be here tonight. Actually, it looks like I didn't have to go to meet people from Vietnam in the 70s. They all came here.
Oh my God.
I want to thank the Maguire family, Cheryl's family, who've taken me in as a kind of adopted family member over these past 6 years. And then, of course, finally, Cheryl. 2 years ago, during a routine medical procedure, there was an accident and she ended up in the ICU. She awakened confused, bewildered, on a respirator, and thought she was going to die. I wasn't there, her family was, and she heard people saying, pull it out, pull it out. She thought it meant they were pulling it out so she would die. But what she was thinking will tell you all you need to know about Cheryl Warden. Since she was about to die, she motioned her family to leave. She didn't want her family to see her pass, but she was okay with dying, knowing her son Blake and her family would also be okay. For she knew their family would all take care of each other. It turned out all they were doing was removing the respirator, and typical of Kaiser, nobody told her. Cheryl, I have never met a finer person in my life than you. Looking out at all the positions here tonight, I realized I was very lucky to be a member of a community where selflessness, courage, and responsibility are common virtues that we all take for granted and need to remind ourselves every once in a while what we are about. As this relates to my retirement, I suppose we're all told at some point we can't do what we love anymore. Some of us were told at 18, some at 35, but eventually we're all told. I've been a doctor now for 36 years, and I'll continue to work as a physician until, I suppose, one way or the other, I'm finally told. So, I'm sure if Mom and Dad had been able to see all this, I'm sure they would have said in their best Philadelphian grammar, well, he wasn't Jonas Salk, but he wasn't just another bum from the neighborhood. Thank you very much.